Today, we are diving into a place that holds incredible spiritual power for billions of people, Jerusalem and the Holy Land. We're going to explore a really big question. Why has this one city, this one small patch of earth, been at the absolute center of faith, conflict, and pilgrimage for thousands of years? Let's get into it.
Right? This is the question at the heart of it all. What is it about this specific place that has so completely captivated three of the world's great religions, and, in doing so, shaped so much of our history? It's a question that honestly just echoes through the centuries.
So, first things first, let's get our bearings. When we say the Holy Land, this is the area we're talking about. It's this region tucked between the Mediterranean Sea and the Jordan River. Now, the exact borders have been drawn and redrawn over time, but this core area is universally seen as the stage where so many sacred events played out.
And what's so fascinating is how this idea of a holy land is a shared one. In Judaism, it's known as Eretz HaKodesh, a name that goes all the way back to the Tanakh, the Hebrew Bible.
Then, for Christians who built upon that same tradition, the name becomes Terra Sancta in Latin. For them, it's the sacred ground where the entire story of Jesus' life took place.
And in Islam, it's Al-Ard al-Muqaddasa, a name you'll also find in the Quran. And this really gets to the core of it, you know? The languages are different, the faiths are distinct, but the powerful belief that this is a uniquely sacred place, that's an idea they all share.
Okay, let's start with Judaism, because here the connection to this land is just foundational. It isn't just a place where things happened. It's the subject of a divine promise that forms the very bedrock of the faith.
This verse from Genesis, wow, it's one of the earliest and most powerful anchors of Jerusalem's holiness. The land of Moriah, where Abraham faced his ultimate test, is traditionally identified as the Temple Mount in Jerusalem itself. That makes this spot the site of one of the most crucial moments in the entire covenant between God and the Jewish people.
So, what this really all boils down to is that for Judaism, holiness is woven right into the soil. It's the promised land from the covenant, it's the location of the first and second temples, the absolute epicenter of Jewish worship. It's mentioned over 600 times in the Hebrew Bible, and even today, millions of Jews around the world turn toward Jerusalem when they pray.
Now, let's look at how this story evolves with Christianity. For Christians, Jerusalem becomes this sacred cradle for the faith. It's the central stage for the entire life and mission of Jesus. You really can't separate the story of the Gospels from the city of Jerusalem. From his childhood all the way to his final hours, Jerusalem is the setting for the moments that would come to define Christianity.
And when you lay it all out like this, it's pretty incredible. His entire journey is mapped onto this one city. He was presented at the temple as a baby, he preached in its courts, he had the Last Supper here, and of course, this is the scene of his crucifixion and his resurrection. That's why places like the Church of the Holy Sepulchre are still some of the most important pilgrimage sites in the world.
Okay, now let's turn to Islam. For Muslims, Jerusalem is the third holiest city, right after Mecca and Medina. And its importance is rooted in a truly miraculous event, and its connection to the prophets who came before Muhammad. This single verse from the Quran, this is the cornerstone of Jerusalem's sanctity in Islam. It's describing the Isra and Miraj, the Prophet Muhammad's miraculous night journey, from Mecca all the way to what the Quran calls the farthest mosque.
And that farthest mosque is identified as the Al-Aqsa Mosque, right there on the Temple Mount, which Muslims call the Haram al-Sharif. It's from this very spot that the Prophet is believed to have ascended into heaven. This means Jerusalem isn't just the site of this incredible journey, but for a time, it was also the very first Qibla, the direction Muslims faced when they prayed, before it was later changed to Mecca.
So when you have this much profound, sacred meaning packed into one place by three major faiths, well, it's almost inevitable that this has led to a really turbulent and often violent history. The city's holiness has also made it one of the most fought-over pieces of land on the planet.
This timeline just gives you a quick snapshot of the constant churn. You can see power shifting from early Muslim caliphates to the European Crusaders, back to Muslim rule under Saladin, and then to the Ottomans who would rule for 400 years. And almost every single one of those transitions came through conflict and conquest.
And the reality of that conflict was often just brutal. Let's just compare two of the most famous conquests. When the First Crusade took the city in 1099, historical accounts describe a horrific massacre of the city's Muslim and Jewish populations. By contrast, when Saladin retook the city about a century later, the Christian population was largely displaced, but not slaughtered in that same way.
And sometimes a single number tells the whole story.
After a particularly ruthless siege in 1244, it's estimated that only 2,000 people, Christians and Muslims combined, were left alive in the entire city. It's just a shocking figure that really shows you the kind of devastation these wars could cause.
All of which brings us to today. How does this long, incredibly complicated history of devotion and destruction shape the city's reality right now?
So why does all this ancient history still matter so much? Well, because the sacred sites are literally built on top of each other. The Temple Mount is the Haram al-Sharif. These ancient, deeply held claims aren't just history. They are the fuel for modern political conflicts. This makes the city this powerful symbol of both division and, at the same time, the hope for coexistence. You simply cannot understand what's happening today without understanding this past.
And all of that leaves us with this final massive question. It's a challenge not just for the people who live there, but really for all of us. How can a place that is so profoundly holy to so many people finally become a symbol of what they share instead of what divides them? It's a lot to think about. Thanks for joining me for this one.